So we are here with the first Photomyne podcast. We're calling this Photomyne Talks. We're here with Mollie Bartelt, and she is the co-founder of Pixologie, and she'll get a little bit more into what she does there and what they do. But thanks for joining us in this, first podcast, our first attempt with within the Photomyne community to put out something like this. So we're so happy to have you here, Mollie. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you.
It's great. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, how you got into this racket.
Well, photos have just been a passion of mine for a long, long time. I remember my mom would put photo albums together, and it was such a big deal when she would complete an album and then it would be available for us to look at. And I've gone back to that set of albums many times. Somewhere along the way, I actually had a career in nonprofit management and began scrapbooking my personal pictures. And I became a creative memories consultant on the side and sold scrapbooks and digital scrapbook software so that people could make their own digital books on their computer. And that company went into bankruptcy twice. And my friend Ann and I thought there just had to be a better way to help people with their pictures, because people often will buy the things they think will help them save their photos, but actually using, whether it's an album or a photo box or even an app, using it is really the challenge. And a lot of times people just don't come back to those investments that they've made. So we started Pixologie in 2013 to give people hands-on help. And so we provided education as well as hands-on service to organize photos for people and scan them, and then to create something that they would have their pictures and memories to share with their family and know it was preserved for future generations. And now it's going on 9 years. Learned a lot.
Wow. That's so awesome. How has it been? How have you seen changes, I guess, from where you started to where you are now? I mean, 9 years, like you said, is a huge amount of time to kind of work this out. I'm sure there were some kinks along the way. What have you kind of learned about photo organizing from when you started to where you are now?
Well, I've learned that we have to really keep I've learned that we really need to keep the system simple, even for our team here at Pixologie to organize and scan photos, as well as for teaching people how to do it, because there are so many moving parts with organizing photos, whether they're printed or digital, as well as changing technology. So one thing that I feel is really a stark difference from even 5 years ago is the acceptance by people of storing pictures in the cloud. 5 years ago, 8 years ago, when we started, it was like, no, I'm not using the cloud at all. And people were distrustful, and it was a very teeny amount of people that understood it even. So today, just by the nature of how people use their phones, people have stuff all over the cloud in many different places. So now it's not so much talking about organizing pictures on the computer and saving them there, although that's important. Now we have to figure out how to get your pictures off the cloud so you've got them consolidated in one place. So that's a big change for sure. And I know more than ever, people just need to know that there is a system out there, and that and they can learn it. And if they just know what not to do, it might help them actually get things done.
Is there one thing specifically that you would, I guess, above everything else, to tell people, definitely don't do this? A big wag of the finger about this?
Well, I think today, the first thing that people can do is really think about what pictures they're taking right away today. because it's so hard to delete a photo or throw a picture away. So if you take too many, you're already setting yourself up for a long-term problem if you multiply that by months and years. So today, really be thoughtful about what pictures you're taking so that you don't have to delete them, or someone 10, 20 years from now isn't thinking, well, should I save this picture or shouldn't I? And I see that like in the 80s and 90s, even back then, people would take so many photos, like, and then now making the choice about what to save and scan is it's a hard mind process. So let's be thoughtful about what pictures that we want, now and for the future.
I mean, that's definitely got to be tough. I know, it's a pretty common thing these days where, you ask somebody to take a picture of you while you're on vacation or, wherever, and you either ask them to take a bunch of them, or maybe they just do it anyways because, you want to get the best one possible. So it's got to be kind of tough to remind yourself almost, okay, let me just choose the one I like and then get rid of the other ones, right?
That's hard. And then, people think they're going to come back and do it. And then other people will be like, well, I like that expression too. So now, now they can't make a choice. And pretty soon they have too many pictures, and then they start ignoring the problem again. So it's a mindset, but I feel this is like a whole nother thing I could teach people on, is what pictures you want to take. I mean, now that we can really be thoughtful and see instantly what we're getting, that's a whole another topic to talk about.
We can touch every topic. Every topic is on the table. But I want to take it back to actually your own personal photo organizing journey. One thing we talk about at Photomyne a lot is the idea of this family anchor. And you kind of touched on about with your mom that you remember, her going through all these photos. And we talked about this family anchor as the person who's kind of at the center of, either photo taking and saving and organizing, kind of taking all those pieces, and not only, holds on to all these photos, but at some point they have to go somewhere else. They kind of have to get passed down to someone else. Would you say that you are the next person in line or have taken over that job as family anchor?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, regardless of, Pixologie, I have been the one that has cared about the pictures. I have a cousin who, had some albums from my grandmother, and she passed those my way, which I scanned, and she hasn't wanted them back yet. And I'm really curious about that. So I don't think that the family anchor is something that, someone just says one day, I'll handle it all. It's like over time, you just start assimilating things. And I've become it on my husband's side as well. So I have all of his family, and my mother-in-law is 90 and she's still alive, which is so fortunate because we get to know the who's who in the pictures. But usually you see one person kind of become the anchor, and hopefully it's not contentious. What I have seen, like I can think of a couple of clients who became the anchor, whether they intended to or not, and now they have some stress and anxiety related to it, and possibly pressure from the other family members who want their copies. So I think it's a very special person that ends up to be the anchor, and we have to cut them some slack and make sure they get the tools so that they can manage this themselves, and not lose their sanity over it.
Yeah, totally. Is there anything, I guess, advice you would give to those people who might be in that position where, they are their family anchor and they perhaps enjoy it and want to be that place, but they realize that they have, their siblings or their cousins or whoever kind of pulling at them like, oh yeah, I want to see that. I want to see that. Like knowing that, in their minds, they understand too that, their anchor is the person who's kind of in command of their family's essentially legacy in photos.
Mm-hmm.
Like what would you kind of say to that person to kind of help them along?
Well, it's a really good question. It's kind of like having a plan. I've heard the words before by my peers in this field, having a photo management plan. And I think, when you plan ahead and you talk with people about expected outcomes, that really can help alleviate some fears on other family members' parts. So having a plan, I think, is definitely all right. We have to first organize it all and then curate it, which includes, at least here, we include deduplicating in the curate part, because it doesn't matter what generation of pictures we're working with, there's always duplicates. So we have them organized, and then we curate, and then we have to choose, what the location is going to be for those, that family photo collection. And it needs to be accessible, in the cloud, so that people can have access and share and maybe save copies of their own pictures if they want. So I think there's three parts. It's got to be organized and then curated. And then you have to have that one location that you guys can all agree, the family can agree upon. So the organize and the curate could potentially be a very fun activity. So I've seen it where you have the plan and a family gathers like in town for a weekend, and you have people who are organizing, and then people who are, maybe fine tuning the organizing a little bit. And then you have someone, scanning with whatever tool they want to scan with. And then the final person is adding tags. So you can get really sophisticated with that, especially if there's some younger people in the family who want to be a part of that process. It'd be a fantastic, family reunion gathering idea.
I was going to say, it almost is like a family reunion. It's like tailor made for a family reunion. If you're looking for, some sort of event other than, I don't know, like, potato sack races or something like that, right? Like you have this other thing that's like not only an activity for everyone to do together, but it's essentially like a family, a family legacy assembly line. Right. Yeah. Like kind of allowing everyone to work together to kind of put it all together. It's kind of cool.
We are onto something there.
We got it. I think we definitely got it. We could start selling this by itself, just this idea. No, but I want to shift directions a little bit, actually. I know you guys at Pixologie talk about helping people set up a photo estate. Yeah. So I was hoping that you might be able to kind of expand on that a little bit, because, I think it's the kind of concept that people would like to kind of understand a little bit better.
Sure. So we have always, struggled with telling people the importance of saving pictures. So a couple of years ago, actually even longer, Anne had, my business partner at the time, she was like, telling people about the concept of a photo estate. And then we thought maybe we need to package something together so that people can really understand what that is. And so we created the concept of the photo estate. She had been using the words, and we made a definition for it. So it's like a collection of printed materials, the photos and the slides, as well as old film and video. And you bring it together and you organize it, curate it, so that the stories are preserved, the memories are preserved and shared for future generations. And, the idea that you could actually do this with one section of families, this works very well for inherited photos, or if you're even better, if your mom or dad or, older family member is, alive, that can be a part of the process to get it consolidated, so that now once it's organized and scanned, you can add the tags and the descriptions to it, and maybe make a photo book, with the highlights through the whole, family history, because we're going back, in the 1800s for some people, and having their stories told in a collection that we call the photo estate has really been something people could wrap their heads around. So I usually consider the photo estate to cover everything before my client was born, unless it's, unless my client is, in her 70s or 80s, well, then it's going to include her life. My mother-in-law is a great example. Her photo estate includes the historical pictures that go back into the 1800s, and genealogy records end up being a part of the photo estate too. My mother-in-law is a great example of, her photo estate includes the pictures from, the 1800s from her family. And we actually have documents, genealogy documents, and that ends up being a part of the photo estate too, because they go hand in hand with the pictures. And so her pictures include growing up through the Great Depression, the 50s and 60s. A woman of her age had a career, and then and we're still able to add pictures from her 90th birthday, which was just a couple weeks ago. So sometimes you're still adding, but bringing it all together has been just an excellent way for people to see, what they're starting and what they're aiming for to finish.
It's awesome. It sounds like, so basically the estate is a way to essentially, wrap a bow around everything prior to your kind of, your new and current organizing life.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess kind of where this takes us a little bit, maybe not directly, but, what would why do you feel it's important for people to organize their photos?
I think it's so important to organize photos before doing any scanning, because if you scan a printed mess, you'll have a digital mess and you'll probably lose information. And so organizing first is really important. And the reason why I think people need to do this is there's so much information in all of the bins and the books that have been collected over the many years. So when you organize and you start bringing, pictures back together, you can literally find the two same portraits from 1912. One might be all tattered and water damaged, but on the back, it'll have the names of who's on it, maybe the year, and then you'll find another copy that's in really good shape. So now you've got them back together. You can save the front of the good picture, and then you've got the information on the back of the other. When you organize, things come back together and the stories are able to be told so much better than if you just try to scan here and there.
If it's so important for everyone to, save and organize their photos, why do people continue to put it off then?
Well, that's the story of my life. And I actually have been doing consumer research in this. I have conducted dozens and dozens of interviews over the last 6 months because I'm trying to understand, why are people putting it off? And the reasons vary. Some people want to know how to do it right. They don't want to do it the wrong way, so they don't know how to start. So they're waiting for the right way to do it, I think. Some people are thinking, all right, I'll wait till I'm retired to work on it. And inevitably, they're just as busy when they're retired and the pictures wait. There's just no sense of making it a priority. And because they're overwhelmed, they don't understand the technology. And you being a technology company you've probably heard this too, like they don't know how to use everything and how to make it come together so that they are not learning things the wrong way, or they never learn it, or they're confused on how the things fit together. So there is the overwhelmed with all of that they've collected. There's the technology is a problem, and just it's easier to do other things. And I don't know if I've told you this before, but like some people would rather clean toilets, or they would they need to take a Xanax before coming in. I've heard everything. It's just so, it paralyzes people. And so they're just looking for a solution, I think. Then the rest of the people, I don't know if they know how important it is. So there's, and I think that might be like 80% of the population hasn't even given it a thought. And then there's the 20% who have given it some thought, but they want to do it right. They don't want to do it wrong. They don't want to mess it up. They're worried what other people are going to think. And some people are worried that no one's going to care if they do the work. And I always, try to just say, if you're motivated to do this, you're doing it for yourself first. It's so interesting to bring it all together. And then having the right plan to do it really can help you, take off with getting it done. And then the people will come around in your family and enjoy the memories too. So
what's the best way that we can, I guess, motivate people to kind of get started then, if it's such a problem, right? Like there's got to be some way we can there's got to be so many amazing photos out there, so many great stories that are kind of being lost. Maybe, their photos are just getting thrown in the back of a closet, or maybe even just kept on the camera still. Not even, the film hasn't even been developed, whether it's digital or, old analog film. What can we do to get people to really, start doing this, get off their butts and get after it?
I know. Well, I this is my mission. I am on a mission to help educate consumers that there is a better way, and there's that you can get it done. You just need the system. So I think, how can we encourage people to get motivated? You just have to make the decision to do it. All right. And I hate to use like gloom and doom type scenarios, but I'll share it. Fire and weather and technology to disaster are waiting to steal your memories. I hear it all the time. I've had pictures hanging in my garage that were soaked from a fire, and they weren't dried properly before coming to us, and they were moldy on top of it. I have seen wedding albums, my mother's included, that had water damage in it. And if we fix that right away, you might be able to save the pictures, but why not get it scanned first? Okay. So you have all these things that are waiting to steal the memories away. You also, I think about this all the time. We don't know how long our time is on this earth. And tomorrow could be literally too late to save someone's pictures, to talk about the stories. And if you can't bring yourself to start organizing and saving the pictures, talking about the stories with your elderly parents or your teenage kids who, are battling with depression and these social things that are going on that are so different from when I grew up in the 70s. Tomorrow literally could be too late. And so those are the doom and gloom things to get people motivated. And then I also like to say that photos inspire people. They help build stronger families. When families look at their pictures together and reminisce about the things, kids have a stronger sense of belonging in their family. They can have better feelings of resiliency. They can see the tough times that they got through, and maybe they'll be better prepared for, failure's future in life. So photos do so much. If we would just take the time to get over the hump of learning how to do it, to actually doing it. So that's my little, is that enough?
I think that's definitely enough. But speaking of tough times, I think, obviously we're now, 2 years into this global pandemic, and, which obviously has been tough for so many people. I'm coming off myself, struggling with COVID the last week or so, but, it's affected so many people in so many different ways. But I'm curious how the COVID pandemic has kind of changed how people look at their photos. Like, have you seen more people interested in saving them? Do they look at their photos different? Anything that's kind of come out of, like some good things that have kind of come out of this tough situation we've been in?
Yeah. While the shutdown happened, we actually had people do no contact drop-offs. So people had time to go through their pictures while they're stuck at home. So we saw an unprecedented amount of people working on their photo collections. And that was a good outcome. When you had to have life slow down and you could do this, we really, really thought that was interesting to see. Then as people have started to go back, I think we're falling back into our old habits pretty easily. And I don't see it as much as I did over the shutdown. And I'm not sure what to do about that, other than, to do my part in this world to help, motivate people to not forget about their pictures. But that I actually have to say, I think people are falling back into their old habits. And how easy is that to do? I'm not organizing my current pictures as well as I should be, as well as I could when we were closed for that period of time. But yeah, I wish I could say that today we have a drastic change in people's habits, but I haven't seen that yet, but I'm working on it.
So what would you say to them, I guess, to kind of get them back in that, back in that mindset that, sure, maybe they don't have as much time at home as they might have before, but what would you say to kind of get them back in that mindset of, well, I still have these photos to organize that I haven't got to. I thought about doing it, May 2020, but here we are in 2022 and I still haven't done it. So like, what would you do? What would you say to kind of get them back into that groove?
I say today's the day to start organizing the pictures and do it in small chunks. There's resources out there through us or others to just start doing something and making a habit, even if it's once a month, saving your current month's best pictures. So like January just ended, make a folder on your computer with January's photos, have your best ones in there and just start making, folders on your computer. That's what we teach, is to have your collection on your computer. And that would be one way to start, just 1 month. And then at the end of February, put your Valentine's Day pictures in there. Hopefully you have some. So, and just start small and keep it on your list.
I think that sounds like great advice. I think that's great advice to end on also. Thank you so much for joining me on this and, being our test dummy a little bit for this Photomyne podcast. We really appreciate it. So it's so great to see you again. For anyone who hasn't been following some of Photomyne's, video content in the past, Mollie was a webinar host of ours in the past, and we hope to have her again. So thank you so much. Please check out, Mollie and Pixologie, check out their YouTube page, check out their Facebook page, check out their website, etc. But thanks so much, Mollie, for having you. It was great speaking with you.
Thank you. I think it's great. You're helping to spread the word that there's resources out there. It means a lot.
Well, we're happy that you're out there and, that people like us and like you can all be here to kind of make this world an easier place for people to save their photos. And we're all here for the same reason. But so thank you so much. We'll certainly be speaking to you again soon.
All righty.
Thank you.